Hi everyone and welcome to Philippa Gunn Art. Today you are going to be joining me in painting this wildflower scene using watercolours and ink. Okay, let's talk about what we need. We are going to need a water pot, masking tape, watercolour tray. Doesn't have to be a tray, mine is a tray, whereas yours can be liquids, that's absolutely fine. I've got watercolour paper today. However, if you don't have watercolour paper and you just have cartridge paper, no problem there either. I just have a regular round brush, a pen to do my drawings on, and some tissue. Right, let's begin. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is tape my paper to my table. This is just to stop the creasing. Obviously, as we add water to the paper, it wants to shrivel up. So by holding it flat there, this is going to help. Now, it will also give it a nice border. So you have to use masking tape for this. Can't use normal tape or it will rip your paper. So I'm just putting this lightly around the edges. I'm trying to be as close and as even as possible on each separate bit, so this bit is hopefully similar to this side. Okay, just to try and get it quite a nice even look, one across the top there. Now the other thing you can do if you don't have any masking tape is once your painting is dry, you can put it in between something really heavy, like a nice heavy catalogue book if you have one, just something to weigh it down, leave it under that for a few hours and hopefully that would get the creases out. Okay, so I'm ready to start. So I'm going to take my water and my watercolour tray here. You've probably got something very similar. It's just a very cheap watercolour tray. You don't need to have anything expensive for anything like this, okay? So don't go out and rush and buy all new stuff. I'm sure you could probably got one of these lying around. Now I'm going to use the two greens and I'm going to create my grass. So when I'm creating my grass, I want to keep it going up and up and up. So at the top of my grass is nice and thin. If I go up and down, I'm going to get a very block line and I'm looking for a nice wild grass. Okay, so the more water you add to your watercolour, the more diluted it will be. Okay, so I want quite a strong colour, so I'm not going to go really watery. I want it to have nice strong colour. That's perfect. Now, can you see when I'm pulling that up, I'm getting them strands just through there, so it's just thinning out. So I'm literally putting it down and just pulling it up. I'm going to change the colour there. I'm going to add some of this lighter green. You might have remembered me saying I love lots of texture, and you get lots of texture by going in with lots of different colours. So I'm just pulling this up here, getting a nice wild grass effect. Going between the two colours. It's just very loose painting, this is. When I say loose, it just means nothing regimented about it. You can't really go wrong, unless I started going horizontal, and that might go a little bit wrong, but apart from that, getting some lovely different colours. Also, depending on how far you want your paint to spread is also dependent on how much water you put in there. So if I wanted it to come right up, then the more water I'd add, the further it would go. Sorry, the more water I add, the further it would go. However, we're wanting to keep this down the bottom here. I'm going to have our beautiful flowers created on the top there. I'm picking both of them up at the same time now. I'm not having to add any water at the moment because I can see there's enough in there. I'll come to the end of my page. Okay, fab. So what I'm going to do now is rinse out my brush. We're going to start with a different colour. So my brush needs to be clean. I'm not going to dry it because I'm going to add that water to my palette. Now I'm going to pick up this deep red. Okay, can you see? I've just put it in there. Now, I just want to have a think, where am I going to put my flowers? Okay, so there's going to be no structure to these. I'm going to put this nice big one over here. Can you see when I'm painting it, I'm keeping my brush flat. So rather than doing this and getting a real squiggle, I'm keeping my brush flat. I'm going to put another one here. Now, the reason I'm doing all this colour first is so I don't have to keep rinsing out my brush. So I'm going to put where I want my red ones, maybe a smaller one there. Should we go for one more? Yeah, we'll go here. Okay. Rinsing out my brush again. Remember not having to dry it. Pop that into my purple. These are just the colours that I'm choosing. You can choose or have whatever colours you like. Now, for me, that is slightly wishy-washy. So I'm going to not add any more water to my purple on my next one. That's better. One there. One here. Okay. What colour? If we go for a pink next. Okay. Now don't be fooled by the colour of this pink. It might look extremely bright. Extremely bright. But I can assure you when it comes out, it's quite a subtle pink. So I'm not putting barely any water with this. I want it to spread. I don't want it to go on too thick, but I don't want to lose any more of that colour. Where else? There. And maybe one here. To do all these different colours, you could just stick to one colour if you like. So, I'm going to add a little bit of yellow to my orange. Okay, I want to add some yellow. I love yellow, so I'm going to add some yellow. Now, if your paints get slightly murky, like mine has there, that yellow, just give that a wipe out, okay? Just wipe it out there clean. Going in with my yellow. Can you see, I'm really working my paintbrush in there to make sure I pick up lots of pigment. So that means lots of colour on my brush. Put a little bit of yellow down the bottom. Oh. Okay. Let's put some bigger ones in of the yellow. I happen to love yellow. Just a small one over there. Okay. Now guys, we need to be patient and wait for it to dry. So I'll see you back here soon. So during the break, I thought I'd have a quick scribble of doodling some flowers. So I've had a little practice and here are my flowers that I'd like to add to my colour. Okay, colours, should I say. So I'm just going to show you. I wouldn't like to say the names because I'm not even sure if these flowers exist. They're just my impressions of flowers, okay? They don't have to be an exact flower. It just has to resemble a flower. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to move that to one side and I'm just going to start placing my different flowers, okay? As you saw, I've only got 6 and I'm going to try and stick to these 6, okay? Just putting them in different areas. Now, I'm not going to put on my stems because I'm going to want to put them on afterwards. If not, a stem would show completely through. We're not colouring in our flowers, so we don't want the stem running through the flower underneath. Okay, so I'm just going to show you a few and then I will speed it up for you to carry on. Okay, so here I'm going to start with my middle point. Okay, my flower head here. And this one, once again, it's just so loose when you're doing these. I don't mind if I make a mistake. In fact, it's probably better if I make a mistake. So I'm just coming on here. Now I will show you something that I think adds all the details. Just a completely simple flower look. Flower head in the middle, and then almost like, what have we got there? 6 balloons around the outside. But it's these parts that I think make the flower. So it's just going in, just doing that extra little bit of doodling. Okay, I might make it a bit heavier there. Okay. Right, that'll do. Then in here, I'm going to do almost like a bud. Okay, so I'm going to put my middle piece in, this piece that's waiting to come up. And then we've got the two kind of petals or your leaves around the outside. Just a very simple flower. Okay, once again, maybe I'll just put some spots in there, okay? Or dots, should I say, spots? Okay, and just making it very sketchy. I absolutely love the illustrator Quentin Blake. So I just love how it's so loose, can be almost very childlike. Okay, this one here, I'm going in with my flower head. I want more of a poppy shape, so I'm going to go with my my petals being slightly flatter. I don't mind if they come out of the colour. That's absolutely fine. They're not meant to be sat in there, okay? They're not this perfect colour. Okay, once again, just adding a little bit of detail. Doing it so very quickly. I don't want this to be precise at all. In fact, I think if it was precise, it would almost ruin how it's meant to be. Okay, so here I'm going to do a nice looping, or what I interpret as a looping. So on these, I'm just doing that kind of off circle, 3 in a row, and then as I get to this point here, I'm going to take it 2 in a row, because they get thinner as they go up the stem to a point where we probably will just have just the one. There you go. I can pull this one down. That's not going anywhere. Here, no, actually we'll go here. This one's going to be a daisy. Okay, so I've almost done like a mushroom top there. Just going to join that up with a semicircle. And then here, I'm just going to pull in now some of these daisy kind of petals. And one last one over here. Now I'm going to put some dots through there just to add the texture. I'm going to bring this one out. I don't know why I've cut that one off quite so short. And then I'm just making some dents in my petals. Just a little bit of detailing, but I think that makes all the difference. Okay, and let's go for, it's going to be a poppy bud, or a poppy seed, as they say. Okay, so I'm kind of doing this shape. I'm going to meet down in the middle, making sure that gets smaller. Just around here, I'm just going to do this very curved squiggle around the top. I'm going to bring this up here. Keep going around there to make it kind of fluffy. And I'm going to bring that in there. Okay, and that one can come down too, because there's no flowers in the way for me there. Then, once you do start putting on your stems, remember not to go through them colours just yet. Okay, you want to place them in first. I've only put these two down because I can see they're going straight into the grass. You can add some leaves. Okay, I'm going to speed you up. We know what we're doing. I'll see you back here in a moment. Okay, so now we've got to that part, we need to put these stems in. I put some in on the flowers where I knew I could get to easily. I can get to this one easily, so I can just pull down, put a leaf on there. Whereas this one is going to be a little bit more tricky. So when I'm coming down, I want to avoid my other flowers, but try and stay on the same path. So you can see I've gone from there, left a gap here, going to have to leave another gap, And then at that point there, I'm happy for it to get lost. It's got lost in the grass, that's absolutely fine. This one here can come straight down, just to that bit. This one I'm going to pull through there, Remember, we're putting some leaves on some of these. Then where else hasn't got one? That can come further. That one can come down here. Okay. Big one here. Going to pull that down. And that's just going into there. I think that's all of them. So now I just want to add some grass with my pen. So I'm going to just flicking this up. You can almost do a V. Just pulling this up as well. Okay, so that can come right up there. Oh, missed one. So it's not completely kind of bland on this bit. It's then got the ink on there as well. Okay, I'm going to put a leaf here and leaf here. Now, for my last two things, I am going to now just add a little bit of green in between, but be careful, if you use a pen like mine, it's not going to be waterproof. So you're going to have to avoid putting any paint onto where your pen has been. Now I'm just going to stand up here and I'm just going to just add a little bit of greenery through there. Okay, can you see? Just putting a little bit on. Just so we've got a little bit of that colour. You don't have to do this. Okay, and for my final step, if any of you have ever seen my work, you will know I love splatter art. So just to finish off now, I'm going to give that a little splatter. I've just added some purple onto my brush, and just with my finger, holding the brush quite steady, I'm just going to blow in and just creates a little bit of movement. Okay, now you're going to let yours dry. However, I'm going to show you my finished result. So don't you remove your tape until it's all dry now. We've just put that splatter art on. That's going to have another 20 minutes. Whereas I'm going to peel mine off just to show you what we should have. And there we have it, guys. Our masterpiece. Thank you so much for joining me today, guys. I hope you really enjoyed the tutorial. Okay, so if you did, remember to hit the like and subscribe button, and I will see you again soon. Take care.